Welcome to Talk Chef. I'm one of your hosts. I'm Reka.
I'm your other host. I'm Jordan.
And today we have an extremely special guest, Top Chef Kentucky runner-up, Sara Bradley. Oh my God. Truly so honored to have you. We are both enormous fans.
Huge.
I've rewatched Top Chef, I think 6 times in quarantine, like all of it. It's pretty sad, but it's incredible. How are you doing, Sara?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
I rewatched my season during quarantine also. And it was way chiller to watch it like the second time. The first time was intense, but to watch it later on, you know what's gonna happen, so you're good with it.
Yeah. So you watched a lot. Did you watch a lot of Top Chef before coming on the show?
Yeah, so it's interesting. Like my husband and I, whenever I found out I was gonna be on, we had like this really big binge. We probably watched all 15 seasons in 2 weeks. And I had like a notebook. I took notes of every challenge of every season and what people cooked on their finale meal, because I didn't want to duplicate if I got there. So I was like intensely studied.
That is so smart. I didn't even think about taking notes so that you don't accidentally cook something that someone else did. That's really smart. Wow. Incredible. Do you have a favorite season or is it your own?
I thought mine was pretty good.
It was.
We think it is one of the best seasons. We've talked about it many times, is that the caliber of cooking is, I would say, significantly higher than like any other season. And I would say maybe like this most recent season where it was like an All-Stars came close, but it really was, I think, the first time where it was like, it felt like All-Stars.
To me, Kentucky and Colorado have this feeling where Jordan and I are very specific about the types of challenges we like on Top Chef, and we love the ones that are like, be creative. This is up to your interpretation. Cook X, but your style, rather than cook this precisely as someone made it 30,000 years ago or whatever. And I feel like both those seasons are really good at that.
Yeah, I think that, I think the people that go farther and do better are the ones that can kind of take the dish and reinterpret it like with a story behind it. It's not about replicating something someone else has done a million times. It's about doing something different, but also kind of telling the story with the food. If you can't tell the story, it's not going to happen.
That instantly, wow, truly fangirling. I'm thinking of your dish in Macau where you made the boiled peanuts. Yeah. And for me, I remember that dish so well because one, I grew up eating boiled peanuts as an American, not even as a Southern person. I didn't realize it was a Southern thing too. So that was like just cool to see. And then cool to see it in Asian cuisine, like kind of like, whoa, this is a nice overlap of these two things. And to see you put so much of your story into that dish. I will never forget that dish.
I'll tell you, that dish had a secret behind it that they didn't put on air. And I'm going to guess it's because of the fact that it had to do with goober grape. So, you guys know what goober grape is? Like they take the jar of the peanut butter and they
put it in the same.
They like shoot the grape jelly down the sides.
Oh, yeah.
So that dish was boiled peanuts. It was like a play on chili prawns. It was boiled peanuts. And then it had a grape juice dashi with it. So like I made the dashi with toasted peanuts and white grape juice. And the whole thing was that when we would always go to South Carolina growing up, we would stop, we would get boiled peanuts, we would go to the grocery, and my parents were like, you can't have peanut butter and jelly. We're only going to be here for a week. So they would buy us jars of goober. And that was like I reimagined this whole trip out to South Carolina, and goober grape was part of it. And I was like, peanut butter, jelly, it makes perfect sense.
That makes me love it so much more because PB&J, I think Jordan doesn't like Great British Bake Off, but I do. And PB&J is obviously such like an American flavor combo, but I fucking love it. I'm a peanut butter freak. And Paul Hollywood always dings people on PB&J. He's like, that doesn't sound good together. And it's just like, yes, it is stupid. So And yes, we used to buy those goober jars too. Oh my God, I'm truly sweating with excitement. This is literally.
And if I can also fangirl for a second, when I was on tour in Kentucky with the Upright Citizens Brigade, like a year and a half ago, I went to your restaurant, the Freight House, and it was so good because I wanted to try that shrimp and boiled peanut dish because I'm from New Orleans and shrimp is my favorite food. And I grew up eating boiled peanuts, which is another one of my favorite food. And I saw it on the show and I was like, this dish sounds so good. And then when I found out we were going to Paducah, I was like, oh my God, Sarah's from Paducah. I have to see. And I like found out you had a restaurant there. I was like, I gotta go. And I just went and it was packed. I like got there right when it opened and like ran to the bar and I just sat at the bar and had a cocktail and had my little like shrimp and boiled peanuts. And it was so good. And it was so crazy because I was like, wow, Tom Colicchio and I like both ate this dish and we both
and in that way you're like Eskimo brothers or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. It's like we've had sex with the same woman. It's exactly like that.
And the woman is shrimp and boiled peanuts.
The woman is shrimp and boiled peanuts. Yes. God.
And I was like, I was standing in the corner just watching.
Yes.
It was very voyeuristic.
Very sexy restaurant. Yeah.
Very, very sexy experience. Please, all the anti-maskers, please realize the restaurant is also very sexy. Well, Sarah, we before we dive in, we wanted to just talk a little bit about the charity we're donating to this week. And I believe Jordan's got a little bit on that.
Yes, they're so cool. They're called No Us Without You. And what they do is every $33 you donate provides food for is suffering from food insecurity right now because of COVID-19. And it's great. It's great people helping their families. It's awesome. As always, you can donate to me on Venmo, which Reka is dropping in the comments. Or you can donate yourself and then send us the receipt if that also feels better to you. It's called No Us Without You. And it's incredible. So that's what we're raising money for today. And thank you, Sarah, so much for being here and helping us do that.
Yes.
I mean, those are the unsung heroes of the restaurant industry. And we really need to pull together right now to not only help all the restaurants out, but help the people that, people don't realize how important all of those guys are to everything we do. So we got to take care of them.
Absolutely. All my friends who work in food service, it's just such a slog. They're so underappreciated. So yeah, we definitely appreciate you helping us raise money for this charity.
But I'm glad to help.
Now, Sarah, here's something we didn't tell you that we were going to do is we have a quick fire for you. If that isn't an alarming sentence to hear.
Do it.
Yeah. So basically it's no big deal, but we're going to give you 45 seconds. This is the shortest quickfire in all Top Chef history to answer 10 questions. And they're not trivia questions. They're just gonna be like personal preference questions, like that kind of tie into the episode we watched, which was season 1, episode 5.
Got it.
Okay. I love this. You're so game. Okay. So Jordan's gonna keep time and she's gonna start the clock the moment I finish question 1. You ready? And by the way, only one person has ever been able to complete our quick fire. So this is like a coveted spot. And
I have a little bit of ADD, so I'm going to like focus super hard.
Okay. Just keep in mind the prize is some gift certificate to M Resorts and a bottle of Terlato wine.
Yeah. You own Terlato wine if you win this.
Yeah. You get to own the Terlato vineyards.
You get the whole vineyard.
Okay. Ready? What is your favorite Latin food?
Pupusas.
Okay. Favorite fusion food?
Korean tacos.
Favorite street cart food?
Hot dogs.
What activity do you think you would place in the top 3 percentile of?
Drinking whiskey.
An open face burrito or wrapped burrito?
Wrapped.
Would you rather forget to bring jicama to a challenge or see Andrea wear a bindi?
Jicama.
Dry beans versus canned beans?
Dry.
Do you think you can identify KC Masterpiece brand barbecue sauce blindfolded?
No.
Is orange a flashy color?
Yes.
Are Reka and Jordan hot?
Knives up.
Yes.
Yes. I think she got it. I think it was like right at the buzzer.
Give me that vineyard.
We got in just right as time, so I'll take
This was like, I'm going to say this was the equivalent of putting your cilantro on and it's in the air when the buzzer rings, but it lands.
Yeah.
It lands.
You remember that.
Listen, I watch a lot of this show. That was incredible. Like we said, you do own Terlato Wines now. We'll hand you the deed after the show and you get the other thing I said, something to M Resorts. And
I also think this was the hardest quick fire because Reka did ask a question that did have a right or wrong answer, which is none of us wanted to see Andrea with a bindi. It's the only quick fire we've ever had that really did have an answer that had a right and a wrong answer.
Right answer. This episode was a hoot. Something that amazes me about Top Chef is from season 1, they've maintained a lot of the same things. Like a lot of seasons, I feel like, of like a reality show you see in season 2, they're like, yeah, they totally ditched that music they were using, those challenges. They kept everything. And this quick fire was evidence. The quick fire was you have 5 minutes to identify as many ingredients as possible out of 20, blindfolded, which is a classic quick fire in Top Chef. Did you have to do that in your season?
I did, and I won it.
You won. I remember.
I won.
Yeah,
that's another studying thing. Like I practiced that. Like I would go into the restaurant and go over to the spice thing and like open them all up and smell them and like put them in my memory bank.
Yes.
But I think what they had to taste was significantly harder than what we had to do.
Let us get into this. I consider myself like, I'm not the most experienced eater, but I've eaten specifically there were a lot of Asian ingredients and I've eaten a lot of Asian food, but I was like, I don't think I could identify hibiscus or konjaku or raw nopales or durian. You might be able to smell it, I guess. Yeah. But natto, which funnily enough, Zach Oyama, our first guest, said that was his least favorite food. Okay. Longan, tamarind, I could maybe ID, but this was a really hard quick fire.
Yeah, it was tough.
How many do you think you would have gotten?
I don't know. I mean, I think I probably would have been in line with like that 4 to 5. And I think another thing is that they've been doing this for 16 years. When I went on, I knew that challenge was coming. Like I was in the walk-in smelling anchovies and smelling tahini and like smelling everything and tasting everything. I mean, I really like thought about that challenge coming and I was like, that's what I want to do and do well on at least. And so I was preparing myself, but I think if you had to walk in blind, you'd have no clue.
And then you'd have no concept the parameters of what the type of ingredients you could get. Like, are they all going to be spices and seasoning? This was like food from all around the world. There were like no brackets around it.
No. And it was, I'll tell you what else was pretty nerve-wracking is when Padma puts a blindfold on you. Like that is intense.
I don't know if nerve-wracking is the word for it, but
Jordan's in love with Padma.
I am.
I mean, in a way, we kind of all are. Yes.
True.
Yeah, I think I would have gotten maximum 1 during this. What about you, Jordan?
I think I would have gotten nopales.
Yeah.
And hibiscus because I used to get a Mexican restaurant that served both of them, so I ate them a lot, and had to do like tastings of them a lot. So I think I would have gotten those 2, and then I think I would have gotten chili paste.
Oh yeah,
but like I don't think I would get like umeboshi plum.
Yeah, I mean I love umeboshi, but yeah, I don't think I would have gotten that. Yeah,
so no contact.
The results reflect what we're saying. Tiffany and Miguel only got 1 right. Harold, Leanne, Steven, and Lisa got 3. Andrea got 4, and Andrea's like an underdog in this season. They're always dunking on her. And I've gone up and down with Andrea. Basically, I eat mostly vegan and vegetarian, and she cooks a lot of like vegan, vegetarian, or vegetable forward food, which is great. But she does the thing sometimes that I do not like, which is when people make vegan food that has like no seasoning on it, and it's like a pile of unseasoned lentils, and you're like, why would anyone want to eat this? But she's really coming up. She's really like, in the last challenge, she did really well. And then, she did well in this challenge. So great. Good for her. Steven doubted her. Yeah, go. Sarah, you got a look in your eye.
it's like it's stayed in my mind ever since, because I watched the first season when it came out.
Yeah.
And I just can't get over that dude in the tie. Like, it's just ridiculous.
Yes, like, he's got big weenie energy. He's just like very smarmy, very rude, very arrogant. And we try not to talk too badly about chefs on this, but like when someone's being that mean, that's like, mean is our line. You can't be mean.
You can't.
You just can't.
Too much. And I also think he behaves in a way that like would be unacceptable now on the show. I think everyone would be like, what is wrong with you? Yes. But I think for some reason at that time we were still in kind of that like early 90s, like maybe it was like still cool to be like mean to women in the kitchen.
Yeah.
In a way that I hope has gone away more. I hope. So yeah, he's like so bizarre, but honestly watching him walk around the Mission District in a suit and that like little orange tie,
horrifying.
He's a doofus.
He's a doofus. And he said the phrase, I'm pretty much in the top 3% of percentile of everything I do, which is such a crazy thing to assert. Yeah. Albert Einstein's not in the top 3 percentile of everything he does. Everything. I cook in the top 3 percentile. I take dumps in the top 3 percentile. I dress in the top 3 percentile. Oh, wow. He's out of control. Another thing I just wanted to point out, I love how happy Dave is for like everybody that wins something. That's just nice. Dave just seems very nice so far this season.
You know, one thing I loved about Dave is, and I don't know if this is jumping too far into the episode, but when he wins, he doesn't even come back in and say it. He's like keeping it to himself. He's like, this is not about me right now. Somebody's about to go out there and be sent home. There's no reason for me to like, you know, toot my own horn. Like they have to actually ask him who won. He's so nice. He's so sweet.
He has like deep empathy, which is like feels rare for a season 1 of this kind of show. That's like the early seasons of Top Chef focus a little more on drama than I would like. I don't really care about that. I just want to see food, and he's like he goes against type for that. He's so kind.
Yeah, he also is obsessed with sauce. He like won't stop talking about sauce, which I love because I love sauce. As you all know, I got my hat. Right.
Yeah, Jordan's mom embroidered her a hat.
I did have my mom embroider me a hat. It says Sauce Boss on it.
Insane.
Because I'm a big sauce fan. So I love that about Dave. He and I really connect on that level.
Yes. He also famously 2 episodes ago made a dish that was enchiladas with on top of mashed potatoes, which looked incredible.
It looked horrible, but I was like, I want to crawl into that and sleep there. It looked so good. Wait, I'm actually curious, Sarah, do you know anyone in real life from this season?
I know Harold. So one of the chefs that I worked for in New York City, he and Harold were like good buddies. And I did some events with him and, you know, had dinners at his restaurant. And he probably would not remember me because I was just like a little lowly line cook. But he was always really nice to me and super chill and like just really laid back and nice. He was always a very nice guy.
I love that because that's how he appears in Top Chef. He doesn't really put on airs. He's always kind of got this look to him, very chill. We're big Harold fans on this.
Yeah, this house supports Harold. What I will say, as like the challenge was like cool and fun, but there was no cooking, so I was like kind of okay. But then when they do this snack challenge in the house,
this was incredible.
I loved this. I feel like I would crush this.
Yeah, so basically for those who haven't seen the episode, they did like a mini quick fire as like a joke in the house, which is the cutest thing on earth, where they did a blindfolded taste test of junk food.
Yeah, I don't know how I would do on that. I mean, I think probably the drunker you got, the better you would be at it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'd want to eat like a sip, like take a shot of KC Masterpiece barbecue or something.
Miguel is obsessed with Casey Masterpiece sauce. He kept, in the last episode, he talked so much about how he used it for his dish. And it was like the specific name drop. Cause like the fact that you said that Goober may not have, like, was it for branding purposes that maybe it was taken out?
I mean, I think so.
Yeah.
I also wondered if, because you know how they like Hidden Valley Ranch has a thing like every season now. I wondered if that is the moment when Hidden Valley Ranch was like, we have got to jump on this. Like, we've got to get in here.
Yeah.
We got to have chefs like saying how delicious Hidden Valley Ranch is.
Yes, because the fact that a chef, Miguel, a professional chef, uses Casey Masterpiece is not lost on me in terms of just like linking those two up. If I'm choosing a barbecue sauce, I haven't thought about those words in 10 years. And him using it made me think about it again. I'm like, wow, that is a big endorsement. But I agree with you that I would not, if you told me I was drinking Casey Masterpiece, I would throw up. That sounds, I can't fathom just drinking that. I know that's offensive to Jordan's culture.
That's offensive to me. That's offensive to my culture. I love it. And when Dave eats that ranch and he doesn't just say ranch, he says Hidden Valley Ranch. I'm like, yes.
They've got $1,000 to pay that.
Yeah, probably. And I like that. But ranch is so different. Hidden Valley Ranch is so different from a homemade ranch, very different from the craft ranch. Like, it's all different. So I really loved that. And then when he says malt balls and she's like more specific and he's like Whoppers. Like, it's
that I love. That's like
organic to him. It felt good for me.
That was like good wine tasting to me when someo's like, oh, a Cabernet. It's like, okay, well, what year? And you're like, Whoppers.
Yes. Delicious.
Yes.
I love that. And I think moving into this elimination challenge, this is one of my favorite elimination challenges in this season.
Yeah, so it was a street food challenge mixed with a fusion food challenge. So basically they're like, take a Latin street food cart and fuse it with another culture that you pull from the knife block. So the 4 cultures to choose from were Japanese, Moroccan, Indian, and Chinese. So yeah, what did you think of this challenge, Sarah?
I mean, I have to say that I think, I don't know, maybe 16 years ago, there weren't, like you said, what's your favorite fusion? And I was like, oh, Korean tacos. Like, were Korean tacos super popular 16 years ago? I don't know, because it seems like Top Chef really thought like they were hitting on something that had never been touched before.
Oh, yes. The first challenge, or second episode's first challenge was, they're like, you're going to be cooking with a really strange product. And I was like, ooh, what could it be? Like, a whale? It was octopus. I was like,
really?
Yeah, we were like, whoa. We said the same thing. We're like, maybe 16 years ago it wasn't as in vogue because like I don't even eat meat, and I'm like, yeah, octopus is a totally normal food.
I mean, I thought it was a cool challenge. So I liked team challenges. Like that was one thing. Like I loved being by myself, but I think something. And, you know, we said something about it, like the dynamic in the kitchen has changed over 16 years. And I think that chefs now are really about like, and not that they weren't back then, but they're really about like supporting each other, lifting each other up, doing all that. So when you get on a team challenge, you can really, you know, if you have people on the team that you get along with, it's really easy to make it a fun, exciting challenge. And I think that overflows into the food. So you could tell the people that were enjoying each other, they did really well. And, you know,
yes,
kind of, you know, I thought it was a cool challenge. I don't know what I would have made.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Like, is there one of these types of cuisine that you would have been like, ooh, that's the one I wish I would have wanted to pull from the knife block?
Well, you know, you asked me like, what's my favorite Latin food? So pupusas. I used to work with these people from like Venezuela, and then I worked with some people like they did like a Guatemalan style, and so that was one recipe that I went prepared with on top. I mean, I went with very few compared to everybody else. I kind of just wing it, but I had that one prepared because I was thinking like, oh, if that ever presents itself to do some type of fusion type thing, I can make those and stuff them with like Kentucky country ham, you know, chow chow, whatever I want. I can put this in there and cook it. And so I would probably do something like that. But you know, but I don't know. I don't think they were cooking. Were they cooking on their little carts?
No, they cooked ahead of time. It seems like they assembled on their carts.
Yeah, that would have been a tough one.
Yeah, because you have to like keep temperature sensitive ingredients all correct and like do all your prep work and like, yeah, just it was so small too, because only one person could be standing there and the other person was like barking at people like it's a comedy show.
You know what else I noticed? And this is something that you probably would notice. Not all of them made a drink, right?
Yes, only 2 of them did.
So obviously the drink was not something that was required of the challenge. It was just extra. And I think that a lot of us found out really early on, because the first challenge in Kentucky, we all made like an extra cocktail and we did an extra bread dish and we did like all these little things. And then we figured out that you're not getting judged on those and they're taking away from everything else. So there's really no reason to do it. Plus, if it's not that great, it kind of count against you. So
absolutely. In these earlier seasons, there's so much more of that where they're like, I made a side dish, I made a drink, and the drink is awful, and they're not getting really judged on the drink as much. Whereas in later seasons, we all saw Philip in Top Chef season 13. He made that Bangkok Dangerous for Restaurant Wars, and they were like, why wouldn't we judge you on it? You made it. And that wasn't really the style in season 1.
Yeah. So, I think that, and that's something I learned by watching it. I was like, don't do anything extra, just do. But then the moment I got there, I was like, let's do something extra.
Yes, you're feeling the adrenaline. This is a thing Jordan and I have like previously like texted about, but Top Chef, and I'm saying this as an Indian American person, there's so many people on Top Chef who are like, I've never eaten Indian food or I've never made Indian food. And so when someone pulled Indian, I was so curious how they were going to do it. Cause like, as I've just watched the seasons, I don't know, Jordan, do you feel that? Like, I feel like everyone's flummoxed by it.
Truly, yeah, there are certain things that the chefs just don't seem to process. And we've talked about this before, and like vegetarian meals are one of them. Desserts is another one, which like I get dessert, but yeah, Indian food, everyone is like, Indian food, what is that? Like nuts or what is, like, it just seems like they're so confused by it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I'm an idiot that like has never done anything in my life and I've had Indian food, You're a famous chef.
Yes. It's I was going to ask, like, is that, because I don't know what cooking school entails. It seems like a lot of people are trained like on French classical cooking. And then kind of the way like you might choose concentrations, people just like, well, I like cooking Asian food. I like cooking Southern food, this, that, and the third. Is that how it works? Or is it a little more organic than that?
My background is like this really kind of fine dining Michelin star, like technique driven food, but it's not the food I grew up eating and it's not the food I cook now. It's still really technique driven, but it's a lot of like Southern flavors. And what's nice about Southern flavors is that there are a lot of other cultures that are represented in the South. So you can, we pull from whatever we want. We have no restrictions. We cook whatever we want. And we use a lot of like we did this braised pork dish with like masiman curry. And like we make like a sag out of like, we call it cream spinach, but it is straight up sag. Like that's all that it is. And we say cream spinach and people eat it up like it's the best thing ever. If I called it sag, they'd be like, what are we eating? So yes, I think it's fun to like, to play around with it, but that's your responsibility as a chef, is to learn all about other things. But if I had pulled Moroccan or Indian, if I had pulled Moroccan, I would have done the same thing they did. I would have been like, let's put some raisins and some dates in it and like make it sweet with a little bit of, like I would have been the same thing as them.
Yes.
Because you're having to fuse these two cuisines. And so I think you just pick the things that are super prevalent.
Yeah, totally. That Moroccan dish sounded so good. So we'll go through them right now. So Moroccan was pulled by Tiffany and Dave, who made a Cubano sandwich play where basically they did like a curried pork with stone fruit chutney, flour gorditas, pickled carrots, and onion. That's what incredible.
Sounds so good. To be honest with you, Cubano does not resonate with me from that.
Mm-hmm. It does not.
I don't know if that's rude of me to say to Dave and Tiffany, but when I hear that, I don't hear Cubano.
Yes.
But it sounds delicious.
Yes, I agree. Now I think I forgot until I just read it that they said it was a Cubano. And I don't think they pressed it either.
No,
it was
No, it's just like a tortilla, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in almost no way was it a coupon, but it looked.
But it's all
what I
about it's all about the story.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yes.
And it looked.
I do feel like they would get dinged for that now.
They'd be like,
I find now that Top Chef is so obsessed with the names of things. Like they'll be like, this was delicious, but it wasn't a granita. And you're just like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't care. You know what I mean? Like they're obsessed with it now.
Yes. In Top Chef, Colorado, and I would love to hear your thoughts on this, Sarah. Adrienne, for her finale dessert, spoiler, made a banana yuzu pudding. And they were like, call it a yuzu pudding. It's not very much banana. What do you think about that as like a critique? Even though if it tastes good still.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you know, another thing that's really hard about it is, so this is like a little behind the scenes. Those menus that you get, those menus that the judges are sitting there reading, like we turned those in the day before.
Yes.
So like there was one dish that I cooked that I was really not that happy with, but I could not figure out how to tweak it to make it match the menu. And it was like this weird, like, it's like this weird constraint that you have to follow to. So she probably was like going to do that and then taste it. It was like really not too much banana there, but I've already put it on the menu. So.
And is that just with finale stuff or with other meals, like Restaurant Wars, I'm sure, but
Yeah.
like for like any challenge, are you giving it to them ahead of time? And
yeah. I mean, we've got some of the smaller, you know, like the ones where you really didn't have to have anything printed up, you know, they would just, you could just go out there and wing it. But yeah, other ones you had to really like think about what you were writing on the menu. So
I remember in season 14 or something with Brooke, she made a peanut butter parfait for a avant-garde challenge, and she had this like way it was supposed to be revealed that didn't work. And I thought it was because like you tell Tom ahead of time what it's going to be, so he's aware, but it's because it's written down. Okay, that makes way more sense, because I was like, how does Tom remember that Harold had jicama, that Lisa was holding a jicama yesterday?
Yes.
Okay, good to, I love BTS. I'm obsessed with this. Okay. Speaking of which, Leanne and Harold made a seared.
No, Lisa and Harold, right?
Lisa and Harold made a seared tuna tataki with like a jicama salad.
With no jicama.
Which I say sounds good.
Oh yeah.
And do you think I think even without the jicama, I would eat that. Is it a good street cart food? I don't know. I mean, I don't care if I'm eating out of a bowl, but I know that that's not necessarily like street cart food.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and there's plenty, them saying that, oh, well, you can't eat it out of a bowl. Like there's plenty of food that you eat that you get from like a streetcar that comes in a bowl.
Yeah.
Like they don't serve you nachos on like a napkin, you know, they come in like a vessel. So, you know, I think that was a tough knock, but I would love to eat that.
Yeah.
I do agree with them that you really have to think about who you're serving. Like on our season, so we did like the houseboat challenge.
Yes.
And I was so excited when when I saw who Eddie didn't pick for our team. And I was like, this is like all the people that like have boats, that like to party, that own catering companies, like we're going to kill these guys. And we did. But we also thought about like, what do these people want to eat on a boat? Like they don't want to, you know, they want to eat, they want Jello shots and they want oysters and they want shrimp rolls and they want these things. So tuna tataki might be a hard sell in the Mission District.
I agree. I think pleasure principle or whatever it's called, like, yeah, what do you want to cook? What would people want to eat in the setting that you're at?
Yeah. I also have to say, I think about that like key lime puppy chow.
Oh my God.
From the boat challenge. I think about it a lot.
Yes.
It was super yummy.
Oh,
I mean,
so good.
They gave us all this money and we just couldn't spend it all. So we started buying like kites and blow up stuff and streamers and alcohol. And we just like, we were going to spend every single penny we had so that we could throw a party.
Can I ask, does the money you don't spend, does that just go back to production, or is it like, please try to spend it all, like we budget it this way? Or
That's a really interesting thing too, something you never see on the thing. So like, let's say there was one person in line in front of me, and at the end of them checking out, they had like $65 left over. I would just start ringing up on their money.
Oh,
Yeah. And so then at the end of mine, I might have like 65 plus the 65 they loaned me. So like, I would just pass it along. So by the end of it, and if you were in line and like you didn't need something and somebody behind you didn't have it, we would be like, anybody need extra butter? And
that's sweet.
it was really our season, and I think that probably a lot of them are, but our season was really about helping each other and like making sure you don't want somebody to lose because they don't have a pound of butter. You want them to lose because your food was better.
There's a lot of like integrity there, and like true, as you were saying, like chefs helping each other out. That's really cool. Other dishes for this elimination, Andrea and Miguel, they pulled the Indian knife. They made an Indian spiced lentil burrito with masala chicken and Spanish rice and mango salsa with a tamarind like fruit punch.
That's good.
I would
eat. I'll eat anything.
Open?
Say again.
The burrito was open?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't.
Can I say something before?
Yes.
I know this is gonna be controversial. So okay. So I eat a lot of foods that are on top of a flatbread with a bunch of shit on top of it. That's how I eat, and I eat with a fork and knife a lot unless I'm eating like straight up Indian food. And the reason I don't mind an open faced burrito, not for street food necessarily, but I can put more toppings on it because I don't need to close it. And I don't have access to those giant Chipotle sized tortillas that are like the size of my body or whatever, where you can like contain it all.
Sure.
So I kind of like it as like a pizza style, like I'm just cutting into it and I'm getting like a big floppy, delicious mound of stuff. Remember? Yeah.
I like to fill my taco shell really, really full and then kind of pick it up and fold it. And then all this shit falls out and then you get to eat that with a fork.
Yes, I like that.
Too.
It has to be overflowing. I've said this before and I'll say it again. I want a burrito that's like the size of a toddler. I want so much filling in it. So that is why I don't mind this open face situation.
I just think it's bad for the challenge. And I agree with you, Reka. And I think like, yes, if I'm eating at home, that makes sense to me. But I'm like, what was their thought process behind it? And to me, it just felt like a lack of thought. And maybe that's rude, but I'm being rude tonight. I'm kind of telling like it is, being a little bit of a bitch, but it to me, I was just like, what is this? What do you guys, it seemed like they were trying to, here's what it is. I talked my way to it. It seems like they were trying to do something interesting or different by just not closing the burrito, which made it less practical.
Sure. And already in itself, the like fusion aspect of this challenge is like, some of the people were like really using the culture and some of the people, it's like, okay, like you're using lentils instead of black beans. Okay. You're using masala chicken. Okay. Like how far do you lean in either direction? So doing the open face, maybe is their like spin on it, which is not really a spin. That's fair. This is also where the debate of canned versus dry beans came up.
Do they use canned beans?
Miguel is like, let's use canned beans. And Andrew's like, what?
Oh, that's right.
Okay. But I like canned beans. Sarah, what's wrong with?
What's wrong?
I think the canned beans are great for at home, but in a restaurant, you got to use either dried or fresh.
Can I ask? Okay, because here's my thing with dry beans, and I'm probably the first person that's ever said this. They take a really long time to cook. I'm the first person.
So here's trick number one. Don't put any salt in the water until they're done.
What's wrong?
I think the canned beans are great for at home, but in a restaurant, you got to use either dried or fresh.
Yeah. Can I ask? Okay, because here's my thing with something is playing. Oh my God, it's feedbacking. I'm so sorry. Okay, that is good to know.
Yeah, so no salt in your beans because they make the skin really tough and it takes longer for them to cook.
Yes.
So that's, and then another trick is if you go to the grocery store, go to the freezer section and they're going to have fresh beans frozen. You can get like lima beans, soybeans, which are edamame. You can get purple hull peas, black-eyed peas, speckled beans. I mean, you can, at Whole Foods, I know they have them because I used them on the show. They're just fresh beans that have been frozen. And so they take about 45 minutes to cook. Wow. Right from frozen, right into water. And they're so much better, and they're more delicious and more nutritious. And yeah.
Wow. Okay. So there's more. Okay.
Yeah, because I've had frozen edamame, but I've never, I mean, I grew up eating black-eyed peas canned. I never have had like a frozen black-eyed pea. I must try.
Yeah, just water, peas, simmer them with a lid on like 45 minutes, and then a little salt and vinegar in the water until it tastes seasoned, and let them cool off, and they'll be delicious.
Wow. The salt thing I actually just learned because I was trying to make black beans, and you can laugh. I put onions, salt, I put everything in there. 17 years later, it still wasn't even cooked. And then I read online that it like actually almost like uncooks them. It like shocks the outside and makes it really hard. And was like, whoa, that's incredible. And I see people on Top Chef making the same mistake, which is crazy to me. Because it must be just like bean secrets, which I love. Okay, great. The last duo we had was Leanne and Steven. Yes.
And she hates him, and I love that. She really is pretty verbal about not liking him. In every episode, she's like, I don't like Steven. I think he's bad. So I think it was pretty funny to have them be paired up together. And she's like, yeah, I'm working with Steven, which I don't like. And I think that's very funny.
I think that's nice. They made a sope with chow suey pork and avocado chili cream and a lychee verjito. I didn't quite catch what that word was. This is also when Steven said, what I'm used to is 4-star dining, and that's it. I've never operated on the level of a street cart, which I was like, oh my God, you make my spine shiver. He's so annoying and rude. And he dressed in flashy colors to help be a salesperson. He was wearing a black suit with an orange shirt. Drop it in the comments if you think that's flashy. He looks like a pumpkin.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no one wanted to talk to him. Also, just another reminder that Steven is in fact 24 years old, even though he seems like he's, I don't know, 70 on this show. He's a 24-year-old boy.
And this is a little question I have. I noticed in the early seasons of Top Chef, they denote the age of the person, and in the later seasons, they stopped doing that. Was that like, was there a reason? I like it because I think it makes people sort of artificially equate their youth with like, whoa, they're so much more successful at a younger age, when like it doesn't mean someone could be 60 and super good on the show or whatever, 18. So I like it, but I don't know if that was like a thing.
I wonder why they took that out. I'm going to see if I can find that out. I'm going to reach out to somebody, and then I'm going to hit you guys up with that information.
Maybe people protested that Steven could be 24, and they're like, this is
90. We're lying. There's no way. Yeah, because and you know, people still find a way to be rude about age. So they didn't really need, you know, I remember in Colorado, once again with Tanya.
Yes,
they're like, oh, Tanya's so old. I'm like, Tanya's not that old, and also she owns like the most successful restaurant in Oakland.
Joe Sasta, who, you know, I have a soft spot for in his like later appearances on the show, but in the beginning he was such an annoying guy. He was like, it's so cool to see someone older like killing the game. I'm like, isn't she like 50 or something? I don't know. The way he framed it was like, she's like, it's so cool. A 97-year-old woman is able to like kind of hobble into the kitchen.
Yeah, able to leave her home. That's so noble.
Yeah, for like as he even said, like one of the most successful like restaurant. The Brown Sugar Kitchen is like a really successful restaurant. I don't know.
Yes, but yeah, I would eat this. This sounds good. I don't know what a Verjito is, but
I don't either.
Sure.
So he said it was a virgin Mojito.
Oh my God. I was like, they put lychee in the food, and I literally could not even connect the dots. Wow. So it was their virgin Mojito drink.
Wow.
Verjito, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I thought a Verjito was just a different drink I had never even heard of.
I thought it was a fucking sauce thing I had never heard of.
Also, one thing I want to address from earlier is that I did look it up, and I feel like the first big like Korean Mexican fusion was the Kogi truck in LA, right? Which was like a big deal. And that started in 2008. So that's 2 years after this premiered, I believe.
So they stole it from Top Chef, is what you're saying.
No, they stole, no. But yeah, so I don't think that was like a super popular thing yet. So I guess this challenge was kind of like groundbreaking in a way.
That's cool.
I guess.
Oh, we didn't even touch on this one little piece of drama with Harold and Lisa, which is they forgot the jicama. They had to like, this seems like one of the most stressful parts of Top Chef to me, which is like the company moves of the food. Just from like a filmmaking standpoint, I know what moving a bunch of equipment and making sure you have every little thing, you didn't leave something in a location you're never coming back to. The idea of having to pack up every single thing, like, did I bring salt? Or like to some desert or igloo you're cooking in or whatever, seems really stressful. And so like they're going out to these streetcars, and Lisa seems pretty adamant that Harold forgot it, but then she later is like, I forgot it. They forgot the jicama.
Yeah, and you know what I thought was really crazy is that Tom and them, they obviously went back and watched the footage to like make sure that she knew it was her and it was not Harold. I don't think they would do anything like that now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I also thought it was something that seemed pretty inconsequential. It felt like they were searching for drama for me, because I know jicama has a texture, but jicama has, in my opinion, almost no flavor. So it's not like they were making like a jalapeno vinaigrette and forgot the jalapenos. And then she was like, all we have now are like daikon sprouts and scallions and grapefruit, or she named like 7 other things. I'm like, I didn't be able to taste jicama in this.
Oh my God, we only have avocado, cilantro, lime, every single thing you would want on this dish.
Yeah, I was like, who cares?
That's so funny. Yeah.
So that felt like a little manufactured.
Yes. Incredible. Okay, perfect. So those were the 4 dishes. Let me see if anything else of note really happened.
I do have a thought.
Go.
I thought that this episode was less racist than I thought it would be.
Oh, incredible. I also thought that.
Minus, I know Dave wears a little hat.
A fez, and then Harold wears like a Japanese.
Yes. And as we said, Andrea wears a bindi, which is not good. That is bad. But the way that they spoke about the food, I remember like when I went back to watch this yesterday, I was like, oh man, buckle up. This is going to be like bad, especially because of how talked about some people are with Indian food in general, even now on later seasons. But nobody talked about it in a way that I felt like was super upsetting.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But there was potential for it to happen.
Absolutely. And you have to always know that going into these situations, there's always something really explosive that could happen.
Yeah. And I do think Steven did belittle all the people in the Mission District, though. To be expected.
Wasn't he like feeling a little annoyed that Miguel spoke Spanish at that Latin grocery store, which is like,
I think we should only refer to Steven as the mayor of the Mission.
Absolutely.
That's it. That's his name.
Very funny.
So wild.
Yeah, the mayor of the Mission actually has a lot of power.
Yeah.
Vote local, everyone.
Yes. Yeah. So I guess I thought they were racist in general, but not that racist with the food is my takeaway from the episode.
And somehow I did know in my heart of hearts, Andrea would be putting a bindi on. Just from the day I met her, I did know that. I'll allow it. It was enormous at judges table, and I do wish she had taken it off. It made me scream, but that's awesome.
It was so big.
It was really, really big.
It was huge. Wow.
Incredible.
God bless you. A different time.
A different time. So the top people at judges table were Dave and Tiffany, as we said, very gracious winners. And the bottom were both Lisa and Harold and Andrea and Miguel. And there's this discussion of, whose fault was the jicama thing, which, as you said, Jordan, I think was manufactured drama. I don't think it seemed to affect the dish. It seemed like it was a good dish, but it wasn't good for the challenge.
Yes.
Maybe I'm wrong. And then, oh my God, this did make my heart sing. When Lisa was like, I'm the only non-professional here. I'm the one that should go. And Harold was like, you're a professional. Don't sell yourself short. I was like, wow, that hit me. That was really nice and very sweet.
Really sweet. And then Tom was like, I'd love to come eat at your house, Lisa.
Yeah, and I loved that. I fucking loved that.
But I will say, Harold had there was a little snide remark from Harold at one point when he was like, I'm just giving her some pointers on how to cut herbs.
On how to cut herbs.
Really? Like,
that's true.
Yes.
That's
true.
I
mean, maybe she needed them. I don't know, but he didn't have to say anything about it.
It's true.
I agree. Yes. There's also a moment in the elimination when Harold is like, I think it's my job to educate people on food. And I think that is true in general, but something about the way that he said it and the idea of like a fancy white male chef, like being like, I'm educating the people of the Mission District, when it's like, you're making them like Latin food mostly to begin with, to me felt a little bit arrogant.
Yes.
Even though, like I said, we stand Harold in this house. But.
Yeah, we do stand Harold in this house. But yeah, that's true, Jordan. That's a good point. Both of you. And then Andrea, because Miguel and her kind of, this is a question I have. It seems like immunity math is like a thing people have to calculate a lot on Top Chef when there's a team challenge. So like, there's so many different versions of it I've seen where it's like, we give Jamie the risky ingredients because he has immunity. So he's not going to go home or whatever. But then if he makes something that tastes like ass, your team is still on the bottom. And then you might go home, even though he cooked something bad. Or they'll be like, well, the person with immunity should have no say then. And then it's like, because, if they drive the bus or whatever, and then the dish is bad, then you're going to go home because you're on their team. What do you think of all of that, like strategy? And
I think that so there wasn't a ton of immunity handed out on our season.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, so there was one great immunity where one person didn't even have to cook. They just set out for the whole entire cooking part of the episode. Eddie got to just sit out for one.
Yeah.
But I think that if you have immunity and you're in a team challenge, you just have to kind of grin and bear it and just shut your mouth. Because if you do great and you win, that's fine. But if you do horrible, then you're still not going home. So you just need to let the people who are actually at risk of being sent home kind of make the decisions.
I agree with that. I think people sometimes, that math gets confusing because, like, I'm just thinking of like when you get risky ingredients, right? Who do you give those to? The person that can't go home or the people that have the most say or should have the most say over where the dish goes. So in this case, it was like bad immunity math where Andrea drove the dish really, and they didn't like it. And it was like, well, Andrea's got immunity, Miguel, so you're going to be the one that goes home if we decide this team loses, which was interesting. Seems like a nice motif throughout the whole series of just that kind of problem. And then Andrea goes, if I did something to destroy his chances of staying, I'll give up my immunity. They don't seem to accept this offer whatsoever. They're like, Andrea has immunity.
Yeah, they're like, okay, shut up.
But later on they do, because like, what is it, Jamie that gives his up one time? Yes. And then he gets sent home. So they do eventually play into that. Like if somebody wants to give up their immunity, they allow it.
Yeah. Yes, in this most recent season, Kevin does it.
Yes, he does.
Right? I don't remember if he has immunity or not, but he's like, let me go home because I'm the head of
for restaurant
wars. Right? And they were like, okay.
Yes. And everyone famously wanted Nick Elmy to do that in Top Chef New Orleans when Stephanie Seymour had to make those corn silk nests.
And he didn't, and then he won the season. And we'll talk about that in a few years when we get to Top Chef New Orleans. I have a lot of thoughts about it.
I have a lot of thoughts. And then so Lisa ends up getting eliminated. They cannot find a single episode to not mention that Lisa is a mother. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just so weird how often they mention it. It feels almost like, Lisa's a mom, so she's really nice. So we'll have her talk to the patrons. I don't know. They mention it in every episode, and Jersey pointed it out, so I thought I would mention.
Yeah, it reminds me of like when someone's like, what's it like being a female comedian?
And you're like, I don't know.
Oh, my big vagina gets in the way when I do all the jokes. You know what I mean? It's just like, I'm sure as a chef, Sarah, you probably get that question a lot too, of like, what's it like being a female chef?
Oh, yeah.
Which is so stupid.
it's, you know, it's hard to cook with my tits hanging down over my hands. Like, you know, I'm like picturing like
dipping in all the sauces.
Yeah.
Like,
you know, it's great except for that 1 week a month when I get my period.
Yes.
Like,
Absolutely. Yeah. So it feels like they really do that with Lisa. Like they're like, oh yeah, she's a mom. I'm like, okay, who cares?
Who's watching her kids?
Yeah. That's what they're all concerned about. They're like, are her kids okay?
Did she just leave her kids alone with a dad? What?
Yeah. What would he do? How would he help them?
Yes. And I do hope Tom did come to her house. That sounds really cute to me. Have you seen Tom post your season?
Yeah, I saw him, I think in an event in LA. And then Kelsey and Nene and Eric and I had an event in New York, and we went to eat at one of his restaurants.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. Tom is so nice, man. I gotta tell you. It's like, I'm not jabbing him on his age, but he really is like a father figure. Like he wants people to do well. Like I think he has, because I go back and watch where he was, like when I watched this season today, like I saw where he was and then I see where he is now. And like, he really wants people to do well. Like he does not want you to do a bad job. I think he gets excited, you know, about people doing good.
That's really nice to hear. Yeah. He seems like a very fair person again, one of the reasons I love Top Chef in terms of the world of reality shows is it does feel like it's really based on the food, like the way that, like, you know, a different type of, like a Project Runway or something might be a little more dramatic. This feels very food based, which I love.
Yeah.
Sarah, we actually had some questions for you from some fans, if we can ask them to you.
Yay.
The first question was, when are you going to write a memoir?
Oh God.
No.
Well, I'm working on a cookbook, so that will happen, and there will be lots of memoirian stories in this cookbook. So,
so fun.
Yeah. I don't know when it'll come out. I mean, I'm surprised how long it takes to write a cookbook.
Sure.
And can I ask which parts of it? Because my friend is a food and beer writer in London, and she wrote like a cookbook with her friend. And when she was talking about it, it was just stuff I'm so unfamiliar with. Is it the writing or the recipe development and like technical language?
No, the recipe and like technical language is that's the easy part, because I mean, I write them in like a way that they're not like super technical. They're written like if someone was talking to you, like a very like, add this, do this. Like it's not, you know, it's a book that everyone can use. It's the writing the stories about, you know, our own sorghum farmers and the people that grow peas for us and those things. Like, because you want to give those people, you want to give them such respect. And so you really work hard on how to tell their story. That's the part that takes the longest, I think.
Yeah, cool.
That's good to know.
Our next question is, any advice for an aspiring chef?
Yes. So for an aspiring chef, I don't know where you are in your career, but remember that no one else will ever care about your career as much as you do. Like, people are going to tell you, oh, you need to stay here for another year. You need to work and learn. And they're probably right. I think that there is an important amount of time you need to spend in each kitchen to be able to really learn. But you're valuable to them because they don't have to train somebody else when you leave. So just remember that nobody else is ever going to care about it as much as you. So you have to make the decisions that feel right for you.
That's really, that's nice.
That's great. What is the Kentucky food that you wish everyone would try?
Burgoo.
Ooh.
Burgoo, and you being from New Orleans, burgoo is like middle of the country gumbo, and it's got like rabbit and squirrel and duck, and it has to have like 5 meats, and it has to have this like dark chocolate roux, and it's just, you got to cook it all day in a big cast iron skillet over an open fire. It's delicious.
I love that. What was your most difficult challenge?
What was my most difficult challenge?
Yeah, the most difficult challenge on the show.
I think the cattle one. So where we got the whole cow, and we had the cow, and the guy was like, carne, and broke it down. And I just got this really tough piece of meat that I knew nothing about. It was the plate.
Yes,
and I only got, and normally the plate cut would be much larger, but I only got a very small section of it. And so I really only had about, I don't know, maybe 7 to 8 pounds of meat to work with, where other people had, 200 pounds. I only had like 7 to 8 pounds off the side. And so I was trying to stretch that, and I got the worst casings. And so they didn't show this on TV, but I walk out to the table and I'm like, they're like, so tell us about your dish, Sarah. And this is the mistake that you should never make on Top Chef. You should never start out with, well, I really don't like this dish and I'm sorry to serve it to you, because they may just love it. But I could see Graham Elliott like flicking around at the sausage casing. And I was like, I know, Graham. I was like, it looks like a condom. Like, I'm so sorry. Like at the judges table. And yeah, so it was rough. It was a rough one. That was a bad one.
Oh God.
On the flip side of that, what was your favorite challenge?
I think probably the matzo balls with my mom in Macau.
Oh, that was a good one.
It was just fun, and like taking my mom and going to these markets and running around. And my mother helped open my restaurant, so she gets it. Like I could be like, Mom, I need a 6-pan of Brindwood onions, and she'd be like, okay. And she'd go over there and she'd cut onions as small as she possibly could. So she knows all of that. So I was really hoping for a challenge where we would get to cook with our mothers.
Yes.
It probably would have been a little unfair, so they didn't do that. But that was my favorite.
I remember the soda water tip from that.
Yeah. I was so mad at my mother that she never told me that. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, and then Tom was like, "Of course."
Yeah.
I love that. Jordan, I got a couple of questions that came in. Live chat. Someone wants to know how do like the applications for Top Chef work? Do they do video applications, and what did you do in the video?
So this sounds like a total assholey thing to say. They contacted me and asked me if I wanted to be on the show, and I was like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I could go. And they're like, well, it's going to be in Kentucky. And I thought, oh, wait a second, it's going to be in Kentucky. They told me I couldn't tell anybody that yet. And they said, we need you to do a cooking video. And I just flat out was like, I was thinking like, there's probably no way I'm going to get on this show. So I told them, I was like, I'm sorry, I don't have time to do a cooking video. I was like, but I'll be cooking. And this was like the first time I'd ever cooked at the James Beard House. I was like, but I'll be doing a dinner at the James Beard House in like 2 days, and you can watch me cook there. And so they watched me on that. So I never submitted a video. And it's like, makes me feel good. I was like a bitch. I was like, yeah, you can just watch me at the James Beard House.
I don't think that sounds like such a well-earned flex of like, hey, I'm pretty busy, but if you want to watch me cook at one of the most prestigious places on earth, you can get at me there.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
I'm sorry, I just don't have time to make a video for you.
Yeah, it probably made them want you even more. That's like so hot, honestly. It's like such a power move. It's crazy. It reminds me like,
you are so baller, Sarah.
Yeah. It's like what Meryl Streep does for roles, I feel like. It's like only offers, no audition.
Yeah, sorry. Jordan, we both get an offer only for interesting projects recently? I got an offer only for a scented vagina wipe commercial. So in a way, I'm kind of right there with you, Sarah.
Sure. And Reka, thank you so much for thinking that I got an offer. I actually just got asked to audition
for
the role of butt wipe girl in a commercial. And I did not book. So
let me tell you, my manager just said, we'll come back and say your offer only. And I said, okay. It was an audition, but God bless. So in a way, Jordan and I are also sort of equally baller.
Yeah, equally hot, yeah.
Someone else had a question. What else did you do to prep for the show after being selected? So you watched everything.
So like I said earlier, I'm kind of nerdy. I made like all these index cards with these recipes that I wanted to remember, because one of the things that you do when you get there is they take everything from you. No pencils, no pens. You can't bring any recipes in. You can't bring any books. I mean, no watches. No, there's just like no way you're bringing anything in with you. So I memorized all these things, and then I got there, and the day that they gave us our notebook, I like flipped to the back and I could not remember but one recipe. And it was, and then, I mean, I had some in my memory that I just know for sure, but the ones that I had actually strived to remember, I could only remember one of them.
This is just me asking a question, free balling. Did you have a dessert prepared, a recipe?
I did, and I forgot it. Yeah, I was like, I mean, I had a couple. I had, we talked about banana pudding earlier. Banana pudding is like something super classic in the region where I'm from. And so I had like banana pudding prepared. I had like this chocolate buttermilk pie. I had like all these very like Southern things, and I couldn't remember anything. So for our dessert challenge, I made a biscuit, which I think like 3 people on our season made a biscuit for the dessert challenge.
What was on your biscuit again? Or what was like?
I like whipped coconut milk.
Yes.
With like whipped that and had like tons of berries with macadamia nuts and coconut. And it was super yummy, but it was a tough one. My oven cut off halfway through, and I just didn't have time to remake biscuits. So,
oh God,
we have to start a Kickstarter to get the show better ovens. I feel like
it is
every season the ovens are awful. I'm like, aren't we sponsored by like
literally by Kenmore? It's so funny when they do that. My friend Mike Trapp always makes fun of this. Like, sponsored by Kenmore appliances, the very appliances you see like shitting out constantly.
It's the fryers. The fryers are the absolute worst, and they set them up. They bring them into wherever they are and cook them up to like propane tanks that you would hook your grill up to. So you might be cooking, and then halfway out, the propane just runs out. And I mean, the fryers are the worst. By the end of it, I realized don't fry anything unless you are in a real kitchen.
Yeah, damn.
That's smart. That's a good tip for any future maybe chef testants.
Yes.
Someone is wanting to know, they're taking a road trip from Chicago to Kentucky. Is there anywhere that they should like stop or do or see or eat, anything that you can think of on the way?
On the way if you come down from Chicago, the first place, if you go straight south, the first place you're going to hit is Paducah. So I would definitely stop at my restaurant, Freight House.
Oh, yeah.
But it kind of depends on which way you go. Kentucky, surprisingly, is this really long state, like 9-10 hours to get from one side to the other. So, I mean, I always think going to the distilleries. Those are lots of fun. There's so much to do. Tell you what, whoever you are, hit me up on Instagram, send me a message, and I'll tell you where to go.
Oh my God. Someone said, Chef Sara is incredible. Ate at Freight House recently, and every dish was incredibly thoughtful and tasty.
Thank you very much.
And that's from a Red Meat Lover.
Okay, yeah, that was the cherry on top. They're a Red Meat Lover.
I know this guy has an amazing YouTube channel, and you guys should check it out. It's really cool.
You know this?
Yeah, I know this guy. He's awesome.
Okay.
Follow Red Meat Lover. They're saying stop at Freight House. It might be the best restaurant in the state. And Sara's bourbon collection is off the charts.
It is. We have a super sick bourbon collection. You
Wow.
guys are going to have to come. It's just a short trip from LA to Paducah, Kentucky. So,
Sara, I would die. Jordan and I are planning on doing a disgusting day where we go to every Top Chef restaurant in LA. We are truly hogs for this show.
Yeah, I'm hoping that like maybe somebody gets a whiff of it and then lets us travel around the country trying Top Chef restaurants.
Okay.
Kind of like a diners, drive-ins, and dives with.
We're both Guy Fieri.
We're both with 2 Guy Fieris.
Girl Fieris.
Girl Fieris. Girl
Exactly.
and gal Fieris.
Yeah, perfect. So Sara, if you know anyone, please let them know that we would love to do that.
Yes.
And then I think Reka, do we have any more questions in the comments? I know you were checking that out.
Let me see. Yes, I was checking that out.
I think we have time for one more.
what do you think of the James Beard Awards being canceled?
I hate that. I mean, people like, so for so long, one of my dreams was like, I want to, be in Garden and Gun. And then it was like, oh, I want to cook at the James Beard house. And then I was like, oh my God, I would love to win a James Beard Award. So, I mean, people strive for that. That's a dream that chefs, hold dear to their heart. And I hate that some people were nominated and they're not, did not get to go through. But, I think it'll come back. And I appreciate that the James Beard Foundation postponed it. There's so much going on right now in the world that needs more attention than chefs getting, pat on the back, or than chefs winning awards. There's so much more that we need to be focusing on than giving awards to people. So totally. I think it was a good move.
Yeah, and speaking of which, if you're watching this stream and you're like, damn, restaurant workers need more love, please drop a donation. Any donation is really incredible to Jordan. Her Venmo handle is at Jordan MYR1CK. And we are donating all proceeds today to Know Us Without You, which supports back of the house workers.
Yeah, so far we've raised $65, which is great. The episode's not even over yet. We've already raised $65. So please help us. That right there is two separate families, supporting two separate families for a week of food, which is incredible. So keep donating. As you know, we keep these open for 24 hours. So I won't send in the donation until 8 p.m. tomorrow. So you have 24 hours to donate. Any amount is helpful. And then Sarah, I have one more question for you. We always on our Instagram pair the actual winner of the challenge, the elimination challenge, their dish up against whatever dish you would have made for the elimination challenge. So what dish would you have made for this elimination challenge?
Yeah, and we'll say that you pulled whatever knife block you wish for fusion.
Well, you guys give me one.
Okay.
Inspire me.
Okay. You have to pair Latin and let's say Indian, because we talked about it and how that's a tough one.
Okay, so I don't know what that dish is called, but it's like khameer. It's like the naan that they stuff with like the ground lamb and onions.
Or like God, everyone's gonna fucking be up my ass about this. But I don't eat meat. Keema naan.
Keema. Yeah. So I would attempt to do that. It's like flour tortillas, but I would stuff them with like the lamb and the onion. And then I think I would go, I hate to say, I love the idea of lentils instead of beans.
Yeah, I think it was really
but, I'm picturing like almost like this little torta, but instead of the torta, it's like a naan that's stuffed with nice toppings. So I'm reaching out to you. So that flatbread with a whole bunch of shit on top of it, that's what I would go for.
Okay, and that in my book would have won. Oh, just a big, heavy flatbread. Yes. Well, guess what, Sarah? You are top chef. This being on an episode of the show, that makes you top chef. And so
thank you so much. It's been so much fun.
We are over the moon to have had you on the, truly.
We can't believe it.
Fanning out. Huge fans here in LA and from Red Meat Lover. We love you too, Red Meat Lover. Wow.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for being on the show. And guys, again, Jordan's Venmo is going to be open for 24 hours to donate to Know Us Without You, to support food security for back of the house workers during COVID. Please support local restaurants and your local restaurant workers. If you're in Paducah, get something at Freight House. Yeah,
Paducah's like so close to everything, but still nothing. So, it's super easy to get there, but it's the perfect midway spot from all parts of America.
Okay, you heard it here, guys. It's very easy to get to Paducah, so you don't really have an excuse.
You have to go.
I might try bourbon. I'm not a big liquor drinker, but I want to try bourbon now.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, Rick and I are gonna come and get hammered at your restaurant.
I can handle that. We can handle that.
I'm gonna eat the shit out of those boiled peanuts.
Well, thank you so much, everyone watching. Thank you again, Sarah. Follow us on Instagram at Talk Chef, and we'll see you next week at 7 p.m.
Yes. Thank you, everyone.
Bye, guys.
Bye.